people who need to be vaccinated. Well, what if I were to tell you there's some money in it? I don't even know if it's much money, but there's definitely some money, because as was pointed out by Media Matters' Eric Hananoki, if you're curious about the grifting aspect of her claims, she sells things like live training for less than $200. She has premium podcast subscriptions for $240. Man, I didn't even know a podcast subscription could cost $240. That's a good amount of money. Eric also went onto her website and found things like this 6-week intensive boot camp for mastering vaccine info. They left off the miss by accident for $500. She also has, because of course, an online supplement store, probably selling the same mashed, like ground up gorilla brain that Alex Jones sells, that like gives you alpha wave energy and makes you rock hard. That's probably what's going on. But by the way, we're gonna comment on this, but I decided, well, no, Eric, thank you for all that, but I gotta go to her website. I gotta see what else she has, and I found something that I should have predicted. Of course, she's gonna have Mike Lindell and My Pillow. You can order My Pillow via Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, because they're made with an exclusive silk microweave that keeps the vaccine out of your brain. It's basically just, it's an all-you-can-eat grift buffet for you, Dan. What do you think?
Order now with promo code institutionalized and get 15% off your first My Pillow. I actually no. I think the more like seeing the My Pillow there was like the icing on the cake, but like the cherry on top. But seeing the supplements is like, oh, we're going right into it. Like it's, well, you already don't trust the vaccines. Well, let me interest you in these supplements over here. Oh, you're already having questions about the validity of these things. Well, let's just go over here for these classes that I can offer you. Is that, yeah, I'm also with you. $250, is that monthly? Is that the annual subscription? Is that lifetime? Like, what's the rate on that? And I don't know, maybe TYT membership, we gotta adjust those numbers a little bit. I'm just kidding.
I don't, let's not. But let's see about those pillows. They do look good. Anyway, yeah, look, no, I understand. Everybody's gotta survive. Surviving by selling crappy stuff like this while you convince people to expose themselves to a fatal illness. Oh, that's among the worst grifts. It's not as bad as someone like Tucker Carlson, because he misinforms way more people, 100,000 times more people on a daily basis about vaccines than she could ever hope to. But this is basically what the world is. It has become easier to monetize literally anything you want than ever before. Go to Substack, you can see for yourself. And regular people, they're the ones that lose out. They lose their money, they potentially lose their lives, they lose healthy relationships with their family because they've gone insane, and eventually even their family members can't take it anymore. And that is what happens when you live in Grift Nation. Anyway, we've only got one more minute, and I wanna make sure that we have time. Dan, you're occasionally on the show, and we're always lucky when you are, but when you're not on the show, you still exist, and you produce amazing content of your own. Where can people see that?
Oh, I thank you, John. YouTube.com/Dan from the internet for Power Report, my semi-monthly political talk show, interviewing really fun guests. Got a lot more cool ones coming up soon, and nice. Fun videos also happen there. And just follow me on Twitter, Dan from the web, where I'm finding out which billionaire to potentially. Oh wait, that's legally actionable. Never mind. Just follow me on Twitter.
Metaphoric guillotines only, people. Okay.
Minecraft guillotines.
Exactly. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching the new supersized version of the show. Coming up right after this on YouTube, on Twitch, available to members, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. It's gonna be amazing. People are loving this first week. Become a part of the craze. You don't have to pay $250 a month. You don't have to ingest any ground up raccoon dog. It's coming up right now where you're watching this. And for my part, thank you for being here. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.
What's happening? Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Richey. We got a big one today. Ladies and gentlemen, strap in for another hot one. We got a hot, I wish a Karen Wood segment. You won't believe this one. It is, well, let's just say it is what it is. Also, we got Joe Collins III. Who is Joe Collins? Well, he's running for US Congress against Maxine Waters. We know her affectionately as Auntie Maxine. He's gonna come on the show and debate me during the bullpen. You don't wanna miss that. We also have Sarah Isgur. Sarah Isgur is the former Department of Justice Spokeswoman. She would join me today. She served under the Trump administration. What are we gonna talk about? US Supreme Court, packing the court or expanding the court, and also maybe pro-choice versus pro-life. We may have that discussion as well. And none other than Francesca Fiorentini will be my co-host today on Indisputable. Let's kick it. We got Sarah. Sarah, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. Let me first start off by asking you about some of the things you've said on Twitter or things you have retweeted as it relates to abortions in America. Do you believe that the argument is actually pro-life versus pro-choice, or is it more complex than that?
So I think those labels have become really unhelpful for folks. You know, Gallup actually had a poll they released yesterday, and the country is actually still about tied in terms of people who identify as pro-choice and pro-life. Also, the country is about tied in terms of people who think that abortion is morally wrong. And that's actually for the first time in the country that number has crept up for people who do not think it's morally wrong. It used to be that regardless of whether you were pro-choice, that you still might think that abortion was morally wrong. So the country is shifting, but if you look at the last 30 plus years since Roe v. Wade, it has remained an incredibly contentious issue. So that's why I think those labels become really unhelpful, because someone who is pro-life can still believe that some abortions should be legal or that it should be left up to the states, all sorts of things within the pro-life community, and same in the pro-choice community. You can absolutely be pro-choice and still believe that, for instance, partial birth abortions should be left up to the states and banned in some states. So I think when we're talking about the abortion conversation, we do a real disservice to the nuance of where people are. And we're gonna get to the Supreme Court, but the Supreme Court has a major abortion case coming up in the fall. And so I hope that as we in the media talk about this, we can talk about it with a little more nuance and a little less my team versus your team.
Let's talk about their poll. Their poll actually showed that 59% of Americans are actually for some level of abortion being allowable in the United States. And there's another side of that which says, roughly 20 to 30% of Americans, they feel that it should not be. And then you have the extremists like Alabama passing a law that actually made it illegal if you are raped or if there's a case of incest, made it illegal to seek an abortion. You literally would get more time for seeking an abortion from a rapist than the rapist would get in Alabama under that ridiculous statutory law. So it definitely requires nuance. Do you believe that policy connected to presidents actually impact abortion rates in America?
Impact the rates of abortion? No, I think culture is always far more important than policy on so many questions that we talk about. Abortion rates have continued to go down in this country since at least the 90s, which you can argue from both sides. The folks who want more restrictions on abortions can say, look, this is a victory for our side. And the folks who advocate for fewer restrictions say, see, we need fewer restrictions. Birth control is more important. Providing support for women who have an unintended pregnancy is important. So I think that who the president is matters for so many reasons, and it does matter for reproductive rights issues. There's a bill that's been brought up in the House, I believe, every Congress for I don't know how long, to basically codify Roe v. Wade into federal law. That's something where policy matters. But simply who the presidency is on whether an individual woman decides to seek an abortion, no, I guess I don't think that is probably that impactful.
Well, let's talk about policy. I'm glad you did nod to the fact that yes, policy does matter from the presidency because policy does have a way of shaping the culture and atmosphere around us socially, economically, politically, educationally, etc. So let me read some stats because you're 50% right on abortions going down. But abortions in America have only gone down under certain policies. So let me read the stats to you. In Reagan from 1981 to 1989, and this is taking rates per every 1,000 women, okay? In 1981 to 1989, you had your rate at 24. That was your abortion rate in America per 1,000 women. H.W. Bush, 1989 to 1993, kept it the same at 24. It did not budge at all. Policies were the same. And then you had a massive policy change under Clinton, and it dropped to 16.2. W. Bush comes in, it stays at 16. It does not drop, it stays the same. And then President Obama comes in 2009 to 2017, and it drops to 12.5, almost half of what was under Reagan. So the only time you see a decline in actual abortion rates in America is when a Democrat is in the White House. Now, do you think that's a coincidence? Or if people are actually saying they're pro-life, they may need to start looking at voting for a Democrat if they're looking to decrease the number of abortions that actually happen in this country?
I think that's so interesting. I hadn't seen those stats.
Let me tell you where to get them from. Hold on, wait a minute. I want to make sure you know where to get them from. The US Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention, the CDC. Great.
Yeah. I think there's always that question between correlation and causation. I'd want to sit there and look at, the Casey decision from the Supreme Court was decided in 1993 when Bill Clinton comes into office. Those are correlated, they're not causal events. There were then some abortion decisions from the Supreme Court that would, in both the Bush years and the Obama years, that would change what laws individual states could have. I'd be curious to chart all those numbers against those Supreme Court decisions. Maybe I can do that and come back next time.
Yeah, you sure can. That's right.
I can tell you about it, but I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, come back anytime. Let me move to the Supreme Court. We only have a certain amount of time with you. So right now you have a set number of Supreme Court justices. The US Constitution does not mandate a particular number. That number has fluctuated over the course of our American history. It has been as few as 6 in 1969. We've had 9, including 1869, 9 including the Chief Justice. We've played with these numbers, is my point. We have played with these numbers back and forth for various reasons. For some reason, it seems as if people on the right are saying that now the number we have is the Holy Grail and it cannot be touched. What's your argument for that? You're a trained attorney. What's your argument for that?
So the argument against adding seats to the court is that at this point it will become a never-ending ratchet upward. So if Democrats add seats this time, Republicans will add seats next time, and the court becomes another deeply political and partisan branch. I think there are plenty of people who can make good arguments that the court already is seen as pretty political and kind of partisan, but this would remove all doubt.
Pretty political and kind of partisan, come on now. I mean, the ship has sailed. We have a partisan court. We have a political court. And this court has been politicized through the process of even getting nominated and appointed, right? Approved through the process of politics. So we can't say it's kind of political, come on now.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that. The Supreme Court is still one of the most trusted institutions in government at this point. Plenty of Americans do not see it.
Nothing. Wait a minute, Sarah, compared to the Senate and the House, that's saying zero.
When you have a 12% approval rating of Congress, right. It's hard to do worse. The individual Supreme Court cases, I think that the mainstream media does a huge disservice when they talk about them because they usually talk about them in terms of partisanship. But for instance, today at 10 a.m., the Supreme Court announced an opinion on the Armed Career Criminal Act, and it was a 4-1-4 opinion. So it was Kagan writing for Breyer and Sotomayor and Justice Gorsuch. Justice Thomas was the deciding vote, that fifth vote, that actually decided that the Armed Career Criminal Act did not apply to this person. And so that guy's gonna get out of jail because of it. And you won't hear a lot about that because it's not abortion, it's not affirmative action, and it wasn't 5-4 along partisan lines. So I wish we talked more about the court in terms of how the law works instead of how the politics works.
So let's talk about that for a moment. I only have a couple of minutes with you. I find that quite interesting because the US Senate actually votes in a bipartisan way more than not. The House votes in a bipartisan way more often than not. Every year there are more bills and resolutions that are bipartisan than anything else. But the reason why there's an emphasis on the things where there is a partisan split is because those items happen to be the massive social items that impact all of us. And that is why so much attention and emphasis is placed on that. So once again, the US Supreme Court, they agree. They agree on more cases than they disagree on. They agree, on a large majority of the cases. But that's not to say that somehow it is not genuine if there's an agreement and there's a disconnect with the community, that somehow the US Supreme Court is not political because of that. I don't get that argument. It is still worthy to cover.
Absolutely, but you're talking about unanimous Supreme Court decisions. I agree, there are lots of them, but the reason we talk about the 5-4 ones is because those are the most contentious cases.
And
but
the most impactful, Sarah, would you not agree?
I don't know that I agree that they're always the most impactful, but they sometimes are. Okay. But in this case, we're talking about a 5-4 case where 2 Republican appointees joined with the 3 Democratic appointees to make the 5-4, and that's not gonna get covered because it doesn't fit this narrative that we already have. That has happened multiple times. You wanna talk about a contentious case, Bostock from last term, where the Supreme Court held that sex applies to gender discrimination, sexual orientation discrimination, and gender identity discrimination. That was written by Justice Gorsuch, a Republican, a Trump appointee.
Yeah.
And those are the sort of things where it's like not the same as the Senate and House. You don't
Sarah,
have Mitch McConnell.
I'm going to bring you back because I want to talk more about some of those cases. I'm glad that you do the research and you have a point of view. That's actually a good thing. I disagree with you on about 85% of some of the stuff you tweet. I think some of the stuff you tweet is just downright silly. But I don't have enough time to get into all of that on this program. But we will bring you back, and we will bring you back soon. Okay, Sarah? Thank you for being on Indisputable. All right, we got more on the other side.
I'm old enough that I remember when Captain Crunch put the berries in it.
Yay, crunch berries!
And I was like, ooh, the fake berries.
Remember?
We're gonna try that.
We did a story back in the day about how a woman sued, I don't know, General Mills.
She'd been eating it for 4 years, right, believing that it was actual berries.
Yeah, she's like, these aren't real berries at all. Yeah. I'm like, I got news for you, Captain Crunch isn't really a captain or a person. Joining me now, legendary whistleblower and American hero, Edward Snowden. First question is, hey, where are you?
I'm in my apartment in Moscow.
All of a sudden, in the studio, Jim Gaffigan, everybody.
Mental illness is, completely undiagnosed in our society.
It's not about a particular administration. It's about a broken system of power, and through that, really, the instrumentalization of a system of not justice, but injustice.
People understand whether they claim to deny climate change or not. Our collective house is in crisis. We're also dealing with the legacy of 40 years of economic policies that have made people's lives more precarious.
Sometimes you gotta force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us in the studio.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and we are fighting for basic human rights.
In order to actually achieve that vision of everyone having access to the same resources and getting to determine the outcome of their life, we have a lot of work to do, and it needs to start right now.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspiration's fossil fuel-free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
What Donald Trump has done as president has cut taxes for the wealthy and made life better for rich people. But he's made life worse for poor people.
We're making America great again by throwing more money at the military to destroy other countries because that makes us great instead of investing it in ourselves.
That it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
The opportunity to make money off of tragedy is the American way.
There's only one place to put garbage people: in the trash.
We've never had so much access to so much information with so little idea of what the hell is going on.
What does enforcing our borders have to do with traumatizing children? Absolutely nothing.
I think a sane person could say the current situation we have right now is radical. But what we're doing is literally making the world more like hell. That's a warning sign.
ShopTYT.com now has books. One of them is Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People. That's a saying that AOC said, they've got money, we've got people. It's the best tracing of the AOC victory I've seen anywhere. It's the most accurate, and it's got great details. The book actually goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson and how he was the original Bernie Sanders. If you wanna know how we're gonna win going forward, those lessons are super important, and they're in Ryan's book. So check it out right now at ShopTYT.com.
We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Let me read some of these viewer comments. Okay, we got a lot of them. I can't get to all of them. I would try to get to as many as possible. Bloodthirsty Pacifist says, do you understand in the slightest that this is not your decision to make unless it's your body? I mean, do you watch The Handmaid's Tale and take notes? You must believe that you would be a Serena Joy, but never once considered that you would likely be a handmaid. And you're apparently okay with that. All right, cool. Good point. Chris Nesbitt, thank you in the super chat. Hello, Dr. Richey, love the show, never stop. We won't ever stop. We. Micah, super chat. Dr. Richey is undefeatable. Agreed. Atlanta Sister, super chat. Loving the show. This is great stuff. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you. YouTube, Bitingale, there's not a pro-abortion movement. The pro-choice side doesn't promote abortions. It only leaves the decision up to the person whose body will be the gestation vessel. Yeah, anti-choice takes that away. That's correct. Very good point. Crumble 104, the doc speaks truth. Thank you. Cassandra Kaepernicki or Kaepernicka. I think I got that right. I hope so. Okay. Love this doctor. I love you back. And thank you for the hearts and the thumbs up. That's a nice touch. Jorge of PDX, I just want to ask Dr. Rich if he was ever a pastor or reverend, because every time I watch this show, I want to yell, testify and amen. Well, praise the Lord. To the Twitch activity. BC Trumpet is gifting 5 tier 1 subs to TYT's community. Gifted a total of 60 on the channel. Thank you. Fidelinero says partial birth abortion, fiction, and a lot more. Pro-choice versus anti-choice, yeah. You can tell me Jess said that, thank you. And we got a lot more. We'll get to more coming up. But ladies and gentlemen, the reason why you're probably here in the first place is not for me, but for my co-host, who I will introduce in just a moment. In just a moment. There's something I need to bring your attention to. I want to be so rich one day. Let me just say this out loud. I want to be so rich one day, I don't have to pay taxes. Because it seems as if that's the formula. It's not about being rich in order to sustain yourself or take care of your family. Obviously, if you get enough money, I never knew this game until I learned it in America. If you get enough money, if you hook and crook and do whatever you have to do, and you just get paid, and I'm not talking about regular paid, I'm talking about hella paid, the American government would just say, you know what, you good. You don't have to pay us a damn thing. You're fine. Ladies and gentlemen, that is basically what has happened with the revelation of ProPublica's investigation. They released a bunch of tax documents and some other documents that showed that the richest people in the United States of America, they are not paying federal taxes. Now, let me go a little deeper than just that investigation, because while it is insane to believe that the richest people in the world do not pay federal taxes, the richest companies in the world do not pay their fair share in taxes, but look at what's called an expectation tax that everyone has to pay. When you go out and you go shopping, you pay the same taxes that a wealthy person pays. So let's say a family makes $12,000 to $15,000 annually, right? That's all they make. And they pay for necessities. They buy food, they pay for transportation, they have to take care of home. Well, these things have taxes, and they are taxed at the same rate as a wealthy person buying those same products, engaging in that same commerce. And to add insult to injury, they are also paying more actual taxes to the federal and state government than these very wealthy, rich people who don't have to pay those taxes. It is an insane system. To talk more about this, we have my big sis, Francesca Fiorentini, host, and I'm going to say it. The Bitchuation Room.
Yeah. You said it, Dr. Richey. It's so good to be here with you, and thanks for shouting out my podcast, The Bitchuation Room. This is the story of the week, right? The story of billionaires completely evading taxes, and the ways that, of course, we're gonna see a lot of comments, and you already see them about how that is legalized, and how it is completely somehow. They're able to do that within our current financial system, because when you have a certain amount of wealth, you literally just borrow using that wealth, and then you never, ever have to pay taxes. Because, so this is the thing that has been boggling my mind, is like, okay, we know they've got the best, tax attorneys and lawyers. There's that. They're gonna evade all kinds of things. We know that they've got all their stock increases, right? And their wealth increases. But really separating income and wealth from one another. And they're not really earning, their wealth is just growing, right? Their wealth is just constantly growing. And then, okay, well, how do they get money? ProPublica really explains that they borrow endlessly because they have all that stock that's accumulating wealth. They're just gonna borrow, so it's like a giant credit card, right? It's like, I think it was Carl Icahn, right, a billionaire, like his revolving tax credit, like his line of credit, excuse me, I believe, I forgot which bank, but with one of the banks, was $10 billion. You guys, what if your line of credit was $10 billion? You could do anything. And so this is the thing, is that even when they use that money, they borrow money, you know this, Dr. Richey, they buy their own stock back to just artificially further inflate, again, part of their wealth that they're never gonna pay taxes on. I mean, it's amazing.
Think about the hypocrisy. I remember when President Obama was candidate Obama. And they looked at how much money he had given. They looked at how much money he paid in taxes, and they used it as a patriotic test. And they said things like, oh, wait a minute, he doesn't really pay a lot of money in taxes. Well, he wasn't wealthy. I mean, he had more money than most, but he wasn't wealthy like these cats, right? And then they talked about, well, he didn't contribute a significant amount of money. They also hit Joe Biden with the same thing. Joe Biden was considered to be one of the poorest members of the US Senate, right? And they said, okay, these individuals are not patriotic because they're not paying a bunch of money to the American government, or they're not volunteering funds when they could volunteer funds to the American government. Because yes, your taxation allows you to say, hey, I want to give more money to the IRS. And by the way, if you know anyone who checks yes to that, slap them for me, okay? All right, so here's the thing. President Trump runs. Candidate Trump runs for president. He tells people, oh, hell no, I don't pay taxes. Oh, that makes me smart. I try to get out of paying taxes. And he is celebrated as the master patriot in the United States by that particular group. Help me understand that.
Well, that's exactly that. And this is what I've been thinking about, is the amount of class warfare and propaganda that it takes to uphold a tax system like this that is so unjust for most Americans. Because like you're saying, the people who voted for Trump, who laud Trump for evading taxes, they look in the mirror and they're like, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna beat Trump. And it's like, no, buddy, I'm so sorry to break this to you, but most of us are not gonna be billionaires, and we're not gonna be Trump, and bless us for that. But like, we are not going to see this wealth in our lifetimes. So what do? How can we create a fairer system, given that we're probably not gonna strike it rich, and we're probably not gonna invent, the Tesla tomorrow or whatever. Like, and so not that any of that is deserving, but that's the other thing, is we've been fed a line that billionaires deserve their wealth, that millionaires deserve their wealth, and that they create jobs, and that they are bless them because, man, anything that trickles down from their little, off their table, all the little crumbs, we just numb on it. Those crumbs aren't even enough. And those crumbs rely heavily on the American taxpayer, not billionaires, to subsidize what they are not paying their workers. $15 an hour, should be $23 an hour, $25 an hour at this point. Walmart telling its workers to actually rely on welfare, right? They're like, oh yeah, no, if you can't make ends meet with our salaries, just apply for welfare. That's great.
Yeah, quite insane. Senator Bernie Sanders said the story showed the rich have money, the rich have power, the rich have lobbyists, and the rich do not pay their fair share of taxes. This is a policy issue. Let me go to this video that gives some of just the insanity associated with the fact that these individuals do not have to pay taxes.
All right, Jesse, big picture, this is no big surprise, right? We've long suspected, heard anecdotally, that the rich might not be paying their fair share in taxes, but we have never really seen specifics like this. You're reporting that Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, paid 0 federal income taxes twice. Elon Musk, the second richest, didn't pay a penny in federal income taxes in 2018. Michael Bloomberg, George Soros, they have all paid no federal income taxes in years past, all legally low. So could you tell us first about the data you analyzed here to get that information?
Sure. I think that, people are cynical about taxes and the wealthy, but I don't think that people really understood that you could be a multi-billionaire and actually pay 0 recently. Elon Musk in 2018, 0 federal taxes. So we obtained a vast trove of IRS data.
I mean, yeah, so we knew that they weren't paying what they should pay. We knew that. Everybody talked about it. It was part of the media narrative. Donald Trump, he confirmed it, but we didn't know exactly what the number was. So the big secret is the fact that the number is 0. That's the number. Like, how in the hell do you make so much money that the American government will basically allow you to bypass the regular taxation laws? Oh, it's written for you to bypass those taxation laws. It is in the code because people who wrote those laws work for people like you. I get it now.
It reminds me of a bit that comedian Eddie Izzard had about like how mass murderers and like people who commit genocide are kind of like, well, congratulations. Like, but if it's like one murder, you're like, this is terrible. You're an awful person. But like, okay, hat tip to Stalin, and there's like a lot of like people respect the amount of money. Like when you have this amount of money, people are like, maybe you're doing something right. Obviously, both billionaires and mass murderers have a little bit more in common, and we shouldn't laud them. I think my favorite part about this, which has been breaking my brain since the story actually came out, was the fact that, okay, so the highest tax rate in America is 37% for couples who make a combined $628,000. That's a lot of money, right? That's like you're doing really well if you make that amount of money. Like I'd be very happy if I ever saw that money in my lifetime. But those folks are paying 37% of that income. Meanwhile, billionaires who are making 10, 20 times that or more, don't do my math, are not paying anything. And yet, that is the middle and upper middle class that are constantly sold on the idea that poor people and working people don't deserve social programs, that they're coming for theirs, that they're gonna, steal their jet skis and they're gonna take away their, second homes and they don't want them to have nice things. And it's like, no. You have way more in common with those workers than you do with the billionaires who are not paying the taxes that you're paying, buddy. And that is, and this is the whole myth about Donald Trump and populism. These fools who voted for him, they're not working class folks. They are people who have wealth. They're the people who've been duped by all kinds of media, from Fox News to NBC to mainstream outlets to, moderate candidates like Pete Buttigieg or Michael Bloomberg or whomever, into thinking that they have to demonize the working class if they are to keep their money. And that's not true. We have to work together to demonize the billionaires. I'm doing a lot of hand motions here. I'm voguing with income inequality, Dr. Richey.
Looks great.
But that's who we have to take aim at. But it's so brilliant when you pit actual well-off people against the poor. It's like, wow, they know how to do this class warfare thing.
And they've been doing it for a very long time. We got to go to a break, but before we go to the break, I want to say this, and everyone who's viewing, I want you to remember something. This game has been played to pit Black people, brown people, and white people against each other. The truth is, we actually have more to fight against collectively as it relates to what they're doing to us. Let me give you an example. Dr. King, when he was assassinated, he had just started ramping up the Poor People's Campaign. And he was connected to individuals in the labor force. This spanned across racial spectrums. We were now adopting a message that said clearly, we do not like how this system treats working class Americans. Mm-hmm. That brought people together. White nobles in the past wanted to teach an ideology that white was supreme. And that ideology did stick with many whites in this country. And if you can preach that and indoctrinate people to that false reality, they will believe that even when they vote against their own self-interest, at least they're not Black, or at least they're not brown. They're voting against their own self-interest to stand with their white colleague, even though their white colleague doesn't give a damn about them nor their work, period. Okay, all right, shifting gears. Have you just been waiting for has-been heaven? Okay, I actually thought this was like one of those satire things when I saw it the first time. I said, okay, this is not actually happening, right? But it is actually happening. It looks like former President Donald Trump and has-been colleague Bill O'Reilly will engage in a 3-city history tour to discuss the presidency and views on political issues. The tour will feature stops in Florida, Texas, 2 stops in each state in December, and will serve as a forum for Trump to frame his political legacy while prepping for a potential comeback. Okay, so here's the thing. This is all in anticipation for Trump to run for president again. So understand exactly what it is. And they're gonna get paid a bunch of money because Trump supporters are the most gullible contributors on the planet, okay? They're going to get a lot of money and get paid doing this ridiculous tour. But damn, Bill, Bill O'Reilly is doing this tour with Donald Trump. Can I remind people of some things that, let's say, Bill O'Reilly has said? Do we got some video on Bill O'Reilly?
The reason Trayvon Martin died was because he looked a certain way, and it wasn't based on skin color. If Trayvon Martin had been wearing a jacket like you are and a tie like you are, Mr. West, this evening, I don't think George Zimmerman would have any problem with him. But he was wearing a hoodie and he looked a certain way, and that way is how gangsters look. And therefore, he got attention. And the reason that that culture has risen is because there are a lot of gangs, and they're violent, and they dress a certain way. And when people see that, they associate that kind of bad conduct. So Martin was innocent of anything. He didn't do anything wrong, Trayvon Martin. But because he looked a certain way, he lost his life. And it's all interconnected to this violent crime that, as you stated and I stated, is driven by the dissolution of the family and no supervision and nobody really caring about what happens in those precincts.
That was the day he actually should have been kicked off the air. That was the day that sponsors should have universally withdrawn support from Bill O'Reilly's show. What Bill O'Reilly just said was the equivalent of him blaming a rape victim for getting raped. Oh, you should not have worn that outfit. No, you should not have been walking down the street by yourself. No, you should not have worn that wig or had that kind of purse. He's blaming the victim. And in his entire commentary, the one person he left out is the man who committed murder. He has absolutely no blame whatsoever for the man that committed murder. And in the same logic, in his perverted ass mind, in that same commentary, he actually agrees that Trayvon Martin did nothing wrong. He agrees with that conclusion, but gives complete defense to the white man who did. They're going on a tour, him and Trump.
Oh man, I immediately looked up Space Cowboys. You remember that movie with like Clint Eastwood and like Tommy Lee Jones? I don't know why, but I was like, this is like Space Cowboys. And I wish that Bill O'Reilly and Donald Trump were just going with Bezos into space. And like I've been saying, don't come back, just go, leave us. But I love, like, what do you think the mean age is going to be in the audience? Just like it's going like, just like I'm saying like 85, 87 maybe. This is like the last tour. This is like, oh my God, grandma's vaccinated. Let's get her out. She can watch, her boy Billy. Speaking of Billy, I'm thinking about the tour bus too. I do not want to be on that tour bus when those two boomers swap rope stories.
Yeah,
right?
I can imagine it smelling like old cabbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
just old cabbage and sexual assault. That's exactly what
right.
it is.
Mixed together, unfortunately. Here's what Trump had to say about the tour.
Our army manned the airports. It ran the ramparts. It took over the airports. It did everything it had to do. We've ended the war on beautiful, clean coal, and it's just been announced that a second brand new coal mine where they're going to take out clean coal, meaning they're taking out coal, they're going to clean it, is opening. This is an island surrounded by water, big water, ocean water. If you have a windmill anywhere near your house, congratulations, your house just went down 75% in value. And they say the noise causes cancer. You told me that one, okay? The thing makes it so. Brand new F-35s, fighter jets. They're stealth, you can't see them. I said, how good are these? They say, well, sir, the problem is you can't see them when you fight them. I said, that sounds like it's a big advantage. And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning, because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me.
That guy was our president. Now here's the thing. I have already planned of what I'm going to tell my grandchildren. When they ask me, after reviewing whatever they review on the internet about this man, when they ask me, how do you all elect him president of the United States? I am going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're referring to. I don't know this man.
You're just gonna gaslight your grandkids?
100%. 100%. Here's how Trump describes the tour. These will be wonderful but hard-hitting sessions where we'll talk about the real problems happening in the US, those that the fake news, I ain't gonna read this bull. Okay, that's it, let's get rid of the graphic. Okay, yada, 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 right? It's the same talking points, but now he's actually, because Bill O'Reilly needs the money, right? And he has at least enough credibility left with some of those individuals that will actually come out, risk their lives and, get fed bull. He's gonna do it, and it's going to be interesting. I hope I'm gonna get popcorn and just watch the highlights from it.
No, yeah. I mean, first of all, I'm glad that you played the entire highlight reel of Trump's dumbest moments, because I think we should watch that every month, just to remind ourselves, it's like smelling salts. And you're like, oh, right. Things could be worse, but we still have to keep fighting, stop the fascism. It's hard to imagine a comeback tour with the most has-been people who should have never left the 80s, like 89, like as soon as, the 90s rolled around, both Bill O'Reilly and Donald Trump should have been catapulted into the memory hole. So I'm curious, is this riling up the Republican base? I don't think so. Like even on some finding your new superstars thing, you don't go around with Bill O'Reilly. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You gotta find your young new, I don't know, who did you just have on the show?
Right.
Sarah, what was her name?
Isgur. Yeah, she's not the one though, no. But this is interesting because you're right. Donald Trump has chosen Bill O'Reilly to be his wingman.
Oh God, the groupies too. The groupies will all be in their 80s and they'll be like, no, we want the young hot ones. It's like, sir, no, but these are the ones who are waiting outside of the van, fine. Like that is,
and
again.
They're gonna come with the shirts with the arrow that says, grab me here, right? They're gonna do all of that ridiculous stuff that was done during the first campaign. Okay, we got more on the other side. I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, this is Indisputable.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not gonna wanna lose, and he's gonna run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's a little bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
No, but
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? And they're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Idarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care. Fourth day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack. It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better. Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate. I gotta be honest, you know what we do, we cover it for real. For us, this system isn't working. Free and fair elections.
And when he told the cops that day, when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna arrest me.
Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Let me read some of these viewer comments. Okay, and don't forget, if you're watching me through the Damage Report, my big homie, got nothing but love for him, but I won't be there, not forever. I need you to jump over to Indisputable TYT and subscribe to that YouTube channel now, okay? Make sure you do that, because one day, you will be there thinking you're going to see Indisputable after TDR, and I will not be there. But there's a remedy, and it's quick and it's fast, and it takes literally 30 seconds. So go ahead and subscribe there, hit that bell so you can be alerted when Indisputable is live. Let me read some of these comments. Eclectic Miscellanea. Dr. Richey, you're too modest. I'm actually not, but thank you for saying that. Dr. Richey, you're too modest. A lot of us are here for you. Your first episode on Monday won me over. We need someone with your fire to take on the corporate establishment and school conservatives who desperately need it. Thank you. Someone who likes Bernie Sanders said, there is no institution that engages with power that is apolitical. Cray Cray Souffle, I sure hope when those two are on their Neanderthal tour, great one, both are wearing matching shirts that say, I'm with stupider. Okay, the Knicks Dragon says, and super chat, oh my God, Franny Eddie is my #1 comedian. Dr. Richey, I still want you to be our AG when you can. I trust you. I wish someone like you was in office. Well, thank you. Elizabeth Jacob, his voice, make it stop, talking about Trump. Costa Kyriakopoulos. Ooh, I think I did it. Yeah. Because all 17-year-olds should wear suits when they walk around their neighborhood, like white kids do. A lot of sarcasm. Yeah. Tulsa Ranger says, Dr. Rashad Richey and Francesca, yes, awesomeness overload. That's beautiful. Lucy says, I'm agnostic, but Dr. Richey is taking people to church, and I am here for it. Thank you. Lorianne Richardson says, Indisputable is what America needs. Love this show, and I love you back, and thank you for that great compliment. So many. Mama Misa says, or Mama Haisa, I don't know. Rashad gives me energy, it's like he fused my fire. Careful. Okay.
Come on, baby, fuel my fire.
Emotional Allergies said, I love Dr. Richey and his show so much, so happy this is a staple now. And thank you all so much. Wish I could read every single one of them, unable to do so, but thank you everybody for the support. Okay, this is my segment, I wish a Karen would. Yesterday, I brought you Dr. Karen. Dr. Karen was in Ohio, and the Ohio Dr. Karen said that she's heard that if you actually get the vaccine, it makes you magnetized. So basically she was saying that getting the vaccine makes you Magneto. And she was as serious as could be. Now, what I peeped is how many people behind her had a straight face as if this woman knew what she was talking about. Well, they went to break this session where they're being asked these questions. They went to break. And remember, you're in front of Ohio lawmakers, right? This is them talking about the vaccine. A registered nurse came up to address these Ohio lawmakers. And she is my Karen of the day. Her name is Joanna Overholt. She came back, and I really don't need to explain this. I want you to see it for yourself.
Yes, vaccines do harm people. By the way, so I just found out something when I was on lunch, and I wanted to show it to you. We were talking about Dr. Tenpenny's testimony about magnetic vaccine crystals. So this is what I found out. So I have a key and a bobby pin here. Explain to me why the key sticks to me. It sticks to my neck too. I got those. Yeah, so if somebody can explain this, that would be great. Any questions?
I have a question. Listen, it's the magnetic strip on the back of this university ID card is what it is, okay? So here's what's really interesting about this Karen. She's a registered nurse, first of all. Someone needs to review her license immediately, okay? But I wanna bring your attention to something. Because I've been in this position before, I'm not going to lie, all right? Anytime Ben Carson opens his mouth, I'm like, damn, that's a loss for the black community. So I've been here before. There's a white female behind Nurse Karen. And she is obviously embarrassed for the entire white race. Now remember what this woman has already had to go through. The white female behind Nurse Karen has already experienced Dr. Karen. And it was embarrassing to hear Dr. Karen say you will turn into a magnet if you take a COVID vaccine. She weathered that storm. And then back from the break, here comes Nurse Karen. And can I just play the video again? I want you to look at the white female behind Nurse Karen and her reaction to the failed attempt to show that she's a magnet.
Yes, vaccines do harm people. By the way, so I just found out something when I was on lunch, and I wanted to show it to you. We were talking about Dr. Tenpenny's testimony about magnetic vaccine crystals. So this is what I found out. So I have a key and a bobby pin here. Explain to me why the key sticks to me. It sticks to my neck too. I got those. Yeah, so if somebody can explain this, that would be great. Any questions?
The
yes.
face at the end.
I mean, any questions? And then there was a brother behind all of them like, what this white woman doing? And at least people, you see that, look at the brother. Okay, all right. Once again, the entire reason why this narrative exists about a vaccination, because remember, it doesn't exist about the thousands of vaccinations that exist in the United States, right? It only exists about this one. Why? Because it was politicized through the former president of the United States.
Yes, absolutely. No, I mean, I just want to see her in med school. Like, so when you put like my hair clip and my bobby pin on the cadaver, like, what does that mean? And you're just like, oh God, oh God, oh God, don't ask the question, stop it. And then she got her license, and then she became a nurse, like that. She's just a practicing nurse. That's very sad and very scary, and also hilarious that it just falls off of her neck and she can't get it to stick. I think what I have taken away from watching this clip is, and maybe she had tuition-free college, maybe she did go to school, but tuition-free college, guys. It's all about schooling. Can we please pass this? Can we please make it easier for people to get better access to information? Somebody help me. I literally am like, my brain is in knots trying to think about how this woman thinks that she is like onto something and that she is a nurse at the same time. I don't know. I really don't know, but it is an incredible amount of entitlement. And I look, people don't like, some people, white people, I am white, part white. And I feel embarrassed for her so hard, but I also know that it's pure entitlement that allows you to get up in front of lawmakers and make claims and then try and stick metal to your body. Like, in what world do you just look in the mirror and you have like a cape behind you and you're just like an incredible like human being who's righteous and knows everything, and like that amount of entitlement and privilege, I think, is very dangerous, clearly.
Yeah, and this woman made it through a scientific program.
Yeah.
Being a nurse requires scientific training. She's an RN. I know a lot of RNs. I have members of my family who are registered nurses. For this woman to make it through a nursing program and still think that a key is sticking to her chest because she's a magnet tells me she graduated because of her privilege. Damn it, there's no other explanation to her graduation whatsoever from that kind of program. All right, let me shift gears because this was disturbing, a very disturbing video that shows an Arkansas motorist, Nicole Harper. She's not even running away from the police. Basically, a police officer gets behind her. She's going fast. She got a lead foot. She's pregnant. She puts on her blinker. And then she puts on her hazard lights, which is another indication, hey, I'm going to pull over. But the place on the highway was really, really thin, right? And she didn't feel safe pulling over there. So she continued to drive so that she could get to a place where it opened up more. Well, obviously this state trooper, and thank God she is suing them now. This state trooper just got tired of just following this individual. Remember, there has been no report of any type of violence. This individual does not have any warrants connected to the license tag. There is no reason to do what this cop is about to do to this pregnant woman.
Got the number 3 lane shut down.
The pit maneuver sent Harper's vehicle into the concrete center divider and overturned it. The manner in which Corporal Dunn casually strolls up to the vehicle seems to demonstrate he had no fear that the victim he had just offended was a threat in any way.
Yeah, no threat whatsoever. The woman was a pregnant female. She was not trying to avoid pulling over. She put her blinker on first and then she put her hazards on, indicating that she is actually going to stop. She was waiting for the right opportunity because that part of the highway was very thin and not an appropriate place to pull over. We're running out of time, but Francesca, I gotta get your opinion on what you just saw.
I mean, it's horrifying. I know that people in the chat and everywhere are just rightfully horrified. And this is why we need police out of traffic control and traffic stops, right? They have lost the responsibility. How many deaths, how many needless deaths, of course, as if there would ever be a reason to have a death in the issue of a traffic stop. How many people have been killed because of police in a routine traffic stop, pulling their guns, 9 times out of 10 African American, of course. And this is just an example. Take them out of this job. They should be unarmed. They should not be, predators on the road. How dare you claim that you are trying to make a street safer by stopping people from speeding and then flip a vehicle and then straight up run and ram your car into someone. I mean, we need them out of this entire law enforcement altogether.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. Initially, The state police did support the actions of this officer. We're going to see what happens with this lawsuit because things can get revealed in a lawsuit that did not get revealed initially. I appreciate you so much, sister, for being on the show today. Don't forget to watch the Bituation Room Sundays at 5 p.m. on YouTube and Twitch. How can people follow you on social media?
Follow me at Franny Fio on Instagram and Twitter and on YouTube. Thank you so much, Dr. Richey. Congrats on the show. What a great week.
Thank you so much. All right, don't forget, on the other side, we have the bullpen. Joe Collins III, Republican candidate for Congress, is stepping into the ring with me. You don't want to miss it. Indisputable.
Are you our next stream star?
Oh my God, that's me?
Show us what you got with your Twitch page. All you need to do is put together a 2-minute audition video on why you should have your own stream on TYT, and then put it on Twitter and use the hashtag TwitchPitch, plus tag us at The Young Turks. And if you needed even more information than that, tyt.com/TwitchPitch has all the info you need. I can't wait to see your videos.
All right, welcome to Dr. Rashad Richey, Indisputable. This is going to be quite interesting. I don't know if you can handle this much truth on any day of the week. The unrest inside of the black community and communities that support them. It's because these cops are not held accountable. You have a family calling 911, and that family is expecting help, not expecting their loved one to be killed by the very people they pay to protect and serve them. Did you ever notice a cop that you work with call any black person the N-word or target people because they were black? Nope. But we disagree that somehow police officers are not also subject to the same systemic biases and racism as any other level of law enforcement.
It sounds like for everybody's need who wants to crucify the cops without looking at it.
No, crucify bad cops, brother.
Of
bad
course.
cops.
We don't need the government to step into our lives, mandating that we should be wearing a mask.
You think you putting on a mask, Trey, is government intrusion, but you don't think the government telling a woman what she can or cannot do with her body isn't government intrusion.
Where does life begin?
You want to go there? I can read it to you, bro.
You seem very well prepared. Certainly more.
Of course, why would I not be well prepared? They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform throughout this country, so I won't stop, and you won't stop either.
I've been a fan of TYT, I believe, for the last 6 years.
5 years.
3 years now. 7 years.
4 years now.
2.5 years. I just started because she got me into it.
My boyfriend actually watches it every morning and every night, so I kind of just started watching it with him, and I love it. I mean, it's the only way that I find my news.
Looking through YouTube, looking for like, political shows that look cool.
I came across a very angry rant from Cenk, and that's when I knew.
So I was immediately in love with the show. And then I had haven't missed a live show since then. 10 times a day, I watched the show in the morning. Whenever I had a bad day at high school, Young Turks.
Man, Cenk is just so blunt and honest, and I love the honesty, and there's no BS behind the news, and they just tell everything like it is.
There's nobody censoring them. There's nobody there to say, you can't do this, you can't say that. That feel of authenticity makes it seem like what they're saying is true.
I feel like I get the real story from the Young Turks.
I am TYT.
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 Breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is Brett Ehrlich with breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. Bernie Sanders wants to break Wall Street, and he wants to break it real bad.
Our system is inherently rigged against the will of the people.
They have 50% of the vote, and in a democracy, they should have 50% of the seats.
But if you live in an insanely gerrymandered district, your vote functionally doesn't matter.
We drew the map in a way that even though we get 50% of the vote, we're gonna get 13 out of the 18 seats.
You don't actually have the ability to translate the will of the voters in your area into actual government policy.
They should not be allowed to gerrymander these districts. We should actually have a democracy.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Let me read some of these amazing viewer comments. Natasha says in the super chat, 100 plus nurses in Houston were just suspended for refusing the vaccine, mostly because it hasn't been fully approved by the FDA, plus having to sign waivers. Okay. Looking for some new ones. Auntie Faye says, Indisputable is my favorite TYT show already. Thank you for the great content, Dr. Richey. Well, thank you, Auntie Faye. Red Jed I66 says, I'm shocked she is a nurse. Are you really though? Are you really shocked she's a nurse? I mean, these people come in all professions, shapes, and sizes. Come on now. All right. She is actively trying not to catch the dumb flying off this lady. Talking about the white female that was in the back of the Karen that we just saw, who said that keys should stick to her skin, and in her demonstration it did not. Great observation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. I don't know why the brother came back. He had an opportunity to stay where he was at, but he came back. I have Joe Collins III, Republican candidate, running against Congresswoman Maxine Ward, is affectionately known as Auntie Maxine. Joe, I appreciate you being on Indisputable.
Thank you for having me once again. I look forward to having another conversation with you after the last one. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was a good conversation, man. We appreciate you being here. Let's start with police reform. 94 to 96% of Americans are actually for police reform. Roughly 58% of Americans say police reform must be dramatic. Even 51% of Republicans say some police reform needs to happen. I'm not talking about criminal justice reform or some other type of justice reform, just police only. They're saying that there's something wrong with the police, right? What are your thoughts about police reform, and why is it that Republicans in your party have been so adversarial to police reform?
We'll start with the first part of that question. I think that we do need police reform. Being a 13-year U.S. Navy veteran, we did training on a regular basis, and it was a quarterly training. Every 4 months, when something new would come around, or we'd have some incident that the whole entire the U.S. Navy fleet and the military in itself would do training. I think that same concept needs to be brought across the police force. I think mental health right now in the United States is a really big issue. And our police are not trained on how to identify people with mental health issues. So I think that training needs to be implemented. Another thing I think that needs to be happening is we need to have police that are actually from the communities, policing those communities. A lot of times, especially here in Los Angeles, we have law enforcement that are from other states, that are from other cities, and they have no idea about the culture in the cities that they're policing in, and oftentimes they think everybody are criminals. And so those are a few aspects that I think should be changed, and a few things I think needs to be implemented. As far as the reason the party doesn't feel like police reform is normal, is needed, I can't speak for everybody, but I can say that a lot of people, they fail to step foot in urban America or even identify with the issues that goes on in urban America. I made a distinction between Congresswoman Young Kim, the way she was able to get the Asian hate bill passed, and the distinction between the legislators that we have that's supposed to represent the Black community. Now, a lot of people did not like the Asian hate bill. A lot of people thought it was unnecessary, but the fact of the matter is the Asian community thought it was necessary, and they got that passed. Now, if it's going to do something or not is besides the point. The fact of the matter is they got that bill passed, and I think that same type of action and leadership needs to be brought across the entire legislative perspective. Joe, I got to say, brother, you just talked a whole lot and didn't say much of anything. So okay. let me back, because you're doing the politician thing, okay? And here's the politician thing, and I don't want you to get caught up in that, because I think you are a decent individual, and I think you believe in change, even if we disagree on the methodology. You're in a position inside of the Republican Party to do a couple of things. One, to ask questions that other Republicans are unwilling to ask because they're afraid of Trumpites, they're afraid of QAnon. I don't know, man. They're scared of everybody inside of the party, okay? You have the ability to say, here's what the problem is.
with Mitch McConnell. Here's what the problem is with whatever Republican you want to call out. Now, let me give you some background on me. I don't give a damn who you are, Democrat, Republican, Independent. If the issue does not align with a community I love, you will have a problem with me. Now, you're a military guy. A military guy like yourself, you understand protocol. You understand also what happens when there's adversity that comes against your team. You're part of some teams already, Joe. You're part of the black team. You're part of the black male team. Now you're part of a team of individuals running to transform policy. At some point, you have to stand up to your own party and tell them the truth about themselves. The truth is they have no business being adversarial to the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act. Would you not agree?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing. You can't force anybody to have a perspective that they've never seen before. So if you ask me my opinion on why they failed to get police reform done, I can tell you, just like the last time, it's because they failed to understand the perspective from people who live in our community. They don't identify with people who live in our community. Therefore, the issues that we feel exist, they don't feel exist. That's why I brought up the whole bill about young Kim getting the Asian hate pass. A lot of people didn't agree with it. A lot of people thought that Asian hate is not a big deal. The Asian community loved it and they thought it was an issue, so they got that bill passed. I think the same thing needs to happen within our community, for our community. We have to pressure our politicians to get these bills passed.
Joe, come on, man. Now, you're saying the reason why your fellow Republicans are not for police reform and the reason they stand against common sense legislation like the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act is because they have not had the shared experiences. Wait a minute. A lot of these cats aren't multi-billionaires either, but they vote consistently to protect those billionaires. So explain that to me.
I can't explain that to you, but what I can say is in the Republican Party, we got a lot of black talking faces that think that they speak for the entire black community and they have never shared the experience.
Well, who are they? Name some of them.
I can tell you, you have Brandon Tatum. He's one of the biggest persons who I go back and forth with all the time. You have Candace Owens. You have people like this who speak about the black community who have never shared that experience. And so these are the people who are driving narratives that says that, you know what, we don't have any issues in the black community. We need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and stuff. Well, how can you pull yourself up by your bootstrap if you have no shoes? And so if you have never shared that experience, then you cannot speak on that experience. And that's one of the biggest problems that I have within my party today.
That's the disconnect.
I'm about police reform.
Joe, that's the disconnect. They don't need to have the shared experience in order to create or support policy that helps the community or helps this nation. They don't have to know what it's like to be poor in order to help poor people. They don't have to know what it's like to be black in order to help black people. They don't have to know what it's like to be a woman in order to support legislation that helps women. Brother, you can't say that in order for politicians to actually do right and create good policy, and policy is a contract between the community and the government, you can't say they must have a shared experience, because if that's the case, every politician who has not experienced whatever they're voting on would not be justified in that vote. You can't say that's the way they should govern.
Well, when you have politicians that's 20, 30, 40 years disconnected from the community, that's the issues that we have right now. That's the reason why we can't get anything passed. People think that there isn't a problem because they don't see a problem. They have never experienced a problem. So until they experience a problem, they will always keep that same mindset.
Yeah,
so
but Joe,
in the time that we have, you're gonna have that shared experience.
Joe, the reason why we can't get anything done in the Senate is because of dumbass Republicans who are anti stuff that you support. And you're going to have to be part of that new voice that says you guys are the ones being unreasonable. You just told me on my show, you support legislation that was created by a Democrat, co-sponsored by Democrats, supported by Democrats, and universally opposed by Republicans. Now, I looked at your Twitter feed, Joe. On your Twitter feed, you're going after Vice President Kamala Harris. You tweeted trying to get the WHO to investigate China is like trying to get Kamala Harris to go to the US-Mexico border. It's not going to happen. Taking a jab at her Lester Holt interview. And I do agree, the way she answered the question was just horrible. But once again, proximity does not equal policy, okay? If you're able to sit on Twitter, and I got a bunch of them, man, don't make me read them all. If you're able to sit on Twitter all day and you can talk about every Democrat, you can talk about every policy, every Democratic policy, but you say nothing about some of these individuals in that party not only hijacking the message that you say they're hijacking, but being adversarial to the progress of the community that you support. Why don't you call them out the same way you call out Democrats?
I'm the type of person that is looking forward to working together on a bipartisanship level, whether they do or whether they don't. And that's my position. So when I look at different bills, one of the biggest issues that I have is that we have politicians that don't work together. For me, I'm about getting younger politicians in office. That's why we've been traveling across the country with Angela Stanton King, with Maj Toure, with Riza Islam, actively engaging people in the inner cities to get actively involved in politics, because we need a change, whether it's Republican or Democrats. We have politicians that sit in there too long. It seems like everybody right now is fighting for the superior opinion that means absolutely nothing. So we have to start getting people in office that are willing to work together, that want to work together, that want to improve the quality of life for people who live in our communities, regardless if they agree with the opinions or not.
Okay. So I'm with you on that. I'm glad you all are going to urban communities. I'm glad you are trying to make sure more individuals in those communities are politically involved. But here's the real question. What policies are you telling them to support? Because if you want to actually attract the hood, I'm from Glenwood Road, all right? Born and raised. If you want to attract the hood, you have to give them something to believe in. What are you giving them to believe in? You can't sell them Trump. You can't sell them that. You can't sell them the policies that Mitch McConnell produces. You can't sell them the policies of the right, not the traditional right. So what are you selling the hood or urban communities in order to get them more involved in what you're trying to do?
Well, we don't sell anything, but what we talk about is getting actively involved, whether it's on a local level or a federal level.
But for what reason, brother? What's the policy behind it? What are you telling these individuals you will do for them if they get engaged in politics? What can change for them? What policy issue is at the center of that discussion?
Oh, I can't do anything for anybody but fight for them. It's going to take people getting actively involved and helping us fight together.
But what are you fighting for, changes, brother? What policy?
We're fighting to improve our community. There is no policy.
In what way?
Trump had the $500 billion plan that would have gave us an economic advantage in our communities, but we don't have that anymore. We have Joe Biden that's given $10 billion, allegedly $10 billion. So when we talk about what policies that are going to improve our communities, if we're not talking about specifically, just like Joe Biden signed an executive order for LGBTQ, just like he signed an executive order for the Asian community. Where is ours? He said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Every single black person felt like they had something to prove, so they voted for Joe Biden. Now look, what do we have? What do we have from Joe Biden? Absolutely nothing. What do we have from Democrats? What do we have from Republicans? Absolutely nothing. Our best chance of having any type of economic empowerment was through Trump, because he was not a politician. He was a guy that felt like, you know what?
Okay, Joe, I'm going to have to interrupt you, man, because you're starting to bloviate. All right, you're starting to bloviate on the show. So first, let me give you a historical record. Under Democratic presidents, black families earn between $800 to $1,500 more annually under Democratic presidents than under Republican presidents. That's from a 28-year assessment of presidencies. Also, black unemployment drops mainly under Democratic presidents, and it actually increases. Unemployment of blacks increases under Republican presidents, and you get paid more per dollar or on the dollar under Democratic presidents traditionally than under Republican presidents. That is a 38-year study and assessment that was done by Pew Research. Now, let me get back to your original proclamation of the $500 billion. While you criticize Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is worthy of criticism for sure. I criticize Joe Biden on policies as well. While you criticize Joe Biden, are you forgetting the fact that while you say Donald Trump had a $500 billion plan for black people, Trump could have gave us that $500 billion plan when he was in office for 4 damn years, and he did not. He was in office for 4 years. However, you have no criticism for him not delivering for black people, but you have criticism for Joe Biden, who just got there. Does this
Joe
make
Biden's
sense?
Been in office for 47 years.
He hasn't been in office. Come on, man.
47 years.
Come on, brother. Do you have any criticism? You got any criticism for Donald Trump?
For Barack Obama, who again was a black criticism. So black people got in office, right?
As I said,
he had the House and he had the Senate, and Barack Obama did absolutely nothing for black people. So I have a lot of criticism for Obama. I have a lot of criticism for Joe Biden.
Okay, do you have any criticism for Donald Trump? Because
yes, he shouldn't talk so much trash on Twitter. But Donald Trump is his own man. But he was doing something for us. He was doing something for us, and he got the lowest total of black votes ever.
Because
Joe
he wasn't
Biden,
doing
Barack
a damn
Obama, the
thing
rest of
based
the
on
Democrats
policy.
had the highest total of black votes, and you know what we got? Nothing. We got absolutely nothing from them. We got a black family, a black man in office who did not care to do anything for us.
So here's how this is working, brother. I'm definitely trying to make sure I engage with you on the policy level, but be respectful, okay? So here's the reality of what you're talking about. Under the presidency of Barack Obama and the vice presidency of Joe Biden, you saw an increase in black employment, black business owners, household median income, household ownership, black college graduates, funding for college graduates. And I still go on record and say President Obama was no friend of HBCUs because he did not move the needle with HBCUs, but neither did Donald Trump. See, I can give the criticism fairly where it applies. You have been a talking point after talking point on this in this conversation. It is a simple question. When it comes to policy, what policy can you point to right now that helped the masses of black people from Donald Trump? Which one?
Well, we could talk about prison reform. That was a real good one. How many black people got out of prison on prison reform?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. The initiative under the White House served less than 1%, is actually 0.02% of the black population, number one. Number two, that same Justice Department decided to eliminate Pell Grant programming that allowed prisoners to actually get a college education. That same administration decided to defund halfway houses that help with the transition of black inmates into free society. And that same administration decided to prosecute non-violent drug offenses to the highest extent of the law based on the memo from the DOJ. So while you can talk about that one carrot stick initiative that helped a handful of black folks, we call that the microcosm, you have no policy from Donald Trump that talked or affected the macrocosm of black people in America.
Well, the majority of the issues that we have when it comes to macrocosm that you talked about come from Democrats. I mean, like, look at every single law that's passed. You can look at the 3 strikes law. You can look at everything from the Clintons.
I'm completely against the 3 strikes law. It was a stupid law.
Even your vice president right now, she was very strict on people. Marijuana offenses, locked them up in jail. Truancies, locked the parents up in jail. And then she gets on the Breakfast Club and brags about smoking weed. It sounds kind of
and all of that. And remember this, Joe. I have been highly critical, not only of Vice President Harris when she was a U.S. Senator, but also when she was running for president and now vice president. So I understand that point. But my point to you is this: you're unable to actually articulate any type of coherent message as it relates to Donald Trump. It seems as if you're drinking the same Kool-Aid. You talk a good game on one hand, but then when it comes to Donald Trump, it's like you completely lose your logic. You can talk about police reform, you say all the right things as it relates to what needs to happen in urban communities. You're connecting with the urban population, beautiful, great. But you really think Donald Trump delivered something for you? You really think Donald Trump did something for black people? Name it, D.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Donald Trump. I mean, you can look at the lowest unemployment. I mean, that was a good thing. We can look at
once again, another misnomer. Another misnomer, so let me explain it to you. The administration used what's called a U3 rating system in order to determine their unemployment numbers. The real rating system is a U6 rating system. They used a U3 rating system that said if you work 1 hour in one survey month, you were considered to be employed. That's the rating system they used in order to promote that they actually had achieved some greatness in their employment numbers. The real rating system is a U6 rating system that showed black unemployment and underemployment between 18 to 22%. Beyond that, black people made less on the dollar under the Trump administration because of the DOJ's refusal to actually go after companies that actively discriminated and did not engage in equal pay for equal work. And beyond that, the household median income for black families in the United States of America dropped by $600 a year under the Trump administration. So brother, those are facts. I'm not arguing anything but facts with you.
So if that's the case, then how come the leftist media had to run a whole media campaign about COVID-19 to stop President Trump and what he was doing for this country when it comes to the economy, when it comes to every single thing that he was pushing for? Why did they have to do that? Because that has never happened. I mean, we can look at
Joe. You
look at every single president. Come on now, come on. You got to admit.
Joe,
the media,
if you had a chance of feeding Maxine Waters, you have just blown it. You have no chance of
ran a COVID-19 pandemic. You gotta admit that.
You one of those guys?
COVID-19 pandemic to shut down the president, shut down everything that he wanted to do because he was doing such a good job. They ran a media campaign for a disease that had a 0.08 contraction rate and a 99.8% recovery rate if somebody did catch the COVID.
Okay, Joe Collins, let me ask you this question because I think it's a fair question now. Do you think COVID-19 makes you a magnet?
Do I think it makes me a magnet?
Right, do you think it makes you a magnet? That's what people on the right like yourself who believe that there was some conspiracy about COVID-19, they think the vaccine actually makes you magnetized. I will send you the video. Do you think COVID-19 makes you a magnet?
No, COVID-19 nor the vaccine makes you a magnet, but I can tell you this, the vaccine has not been approved for anything outside of emergency use. And right now, I don't think that we're in an emergency situation.
You're
for
saying
a vaccine that has not been approved by the FDA.
Oh, okay. How many people you think died of COVID?
Roughly around 500,000 if we're talking about the numbers from the CDC website.
You don't think that's an emergency?
That is not an emergency because the majority of the people, if you read it, it says the majority of the people died from pre-existing conditions coupled with COVID-19.
You are incorrect.
Not from COVID-19. I think what we're talking about is how we're going to improve the health of the people who live in these communities.
Okay, let me tell you where you're incorrect. Individuals that had pre-existing conditions, underlying health issues. Let me finish, brother. People that had these health issues, yes, COVID-19 made it worse for them. They didn't die from the health issue. It's called the but-for qualification, meaning if it had not been but for COVID, they would be alive. They had heart issues. Some of them had respiratory function issues. Some of them had compromised immune systems, and some of them did not. Some children had some health issues but would have survived if it had not been for COVID-19. So, brother, how dare you say that COVID-19 was not a determination? You know how many families had to do Zoom funerals because of COVID-19, and you're saying that this was some made-up conspiracy promoted by the left-wing media?
What I said was they pushed the media campaign. Don't put words in my mouth right now. And when they were talking about the hydroxychloroquine coupled with the other medication that could have cured everything, what they do, they stopped selling it. And then they started selling a manufactured vaccine that has not been proven to do anything for anybody. So how dare you?
Okay,
you cannot say that not one bit that
hydrochloroquine
happened. You can't say that it was meant to happen because
you need to correct yourself on something. Hydrochloroquine was never meant to be a cure, so don't use that word.
I never said it was a cure.
It was meant. It was meant. No, it did not work, sir. It did not work in every. Sir,
yes, it did.
Sir, we can argue. We can debate opinion, brother. We can't debate facts. It did not work in all of the trial studies. It worked for some. It did not work for others. So, brother, when you say it worked,
the vaccine didn't work either.
Well,
you're injecting people with a vaccine that hasn't been proven. Every single animal trial that the vaccine was tested on has failed.
Have you been? Come on, man. Have you been vaccinated?
It's true.
Have you been vaccinated, brother?
No, I'm not. I'm not about to put a foreign substance in my body. I'm not about to get
Why did Donald Trump get vaccinated?
Donald Trump probably did get vaccinated, but I'm not.
But he did. He said he did. Why did he get vaccinated? I'm just asking. Why did he get vaccinated?
I don't know. I'm not him, but I wouldn't do it.
All right, brother. All right. You would never be in the studio with me, brother. But Joe, I appreciate you. Thank you for being on Indisputable. How can people follow you on Twitter?
Joe E. Collins 3, and again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. It's been interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, be good to yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Take care of the planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.